Hi and welcome to this Quest OnDemand general onboarding video. My name's Luke and I'm going to take you through some basic tasks that need to be completed for you to actually get started with the product. Now, when you first sign up for OnDemand or purchase a license, you'll receive a welcome email, and that's highlighted here. It'll contain information like your license and what product that you have licensing for. It'll also contain some useful links like the status page of the services as well as useful KB articles on how to get started. One of the first things you should familiarize yourself with is the on-demand status page. Here you can view scheduled maintenance and the operational status of all the services as well as past incidents. You can also subscribe to updates via email, text message, webhook, Atom and RSS feeds, and more. Next, you have some options like using the Getting Started guide or the useful KB links, but we're going to go over all this in this video. So one of the first things that you'll be presented with is the OnDemand landing page. If you've already logged into OnDemand, you can simply use your existing Quest login that's tied to the licensing you received here. It's important to do this for licensing purposes, tracking, and ensuring that you get the right services when you log in. It's also important that the email for this login is your business email. If you're a new user and need to create a login, you can simply click the Sign Up for New Account option and enter the information just as I'm doing here. After you click Sign Up, you'll receive a verification email to your inbox, and you'll be asked to enter a code from that email, which you do here. Then you're brought to the organization page. This is where you create your first organization and select the proper data center that you want to utilize. Now, the organization name should reflect upon which business you want to utilize the services for, and the data center could be important depending on what your compliance requirements are. So for this organization, we'll simply label it Onboarding, because that's what we're using it for. Organizations can be thought of like a profile, for example, for all the businesses within your organizational hierarchy that are involved with the on-demand services. And it's not just for organizational purposes either. If you're migrating multiple source tenants into a single target tenant, then likely you're going to have to create an organization profile for each of those source organizations, so you can set up a migration project to the same target as the other organizations. It's also a way to ensure that staff are working on organizations that they should be working on. But keep in mind you can add and switch between organizations at any time within the OnDemand console. Upon creating your organization, you'll be presented with the OnDemand homepage, and you should bookmark this for future use. And one of the first things we want to familiarize you with is the drop-down menu with your login. Here you can access the region and switch between organizations, change the name of an existing organization, and sign out, etc. So to create a new organization, you simply select Create New Organization, and you can label it as you wish and select the data center that's required or desired, depending on your company needs. You can also access your organization ID, which is important for support-related inquiries here, by clicking on your organization and taking note of this ID. Next, we want to add our first tenant, right? So we select Tenants on the left navbar, and we select Add Tenant. We'll be notified that we need to select a Global Administrator account. Now, you can designate a Global Administrator account for this if you like, and you just enter the information here and click Accept on granting the permissions. Now, you can add other tenants as needed, but for now, we want to show you how to add additional admin consent for a specific tenant. So in the tenant section, you click Go on the tenant you want to grant additional consent for. And you'll see various services listed here, along with a re-grant consent or grant consent option. By clicking on Grant or Re-grant Consent in the right section, you can specify the account that has permissions to perform the actions that are labeled on the screen. For example, basic migration capability or mailbox migration. So in this case, we'll just grant it basic migration capability. And we'll specify the Global Administrator account that we want to perform these actions. If we wanted to do the same for mailbox migration and resource processing, we would simply do the same thing for the other migration sections. Next, I'd like to show you the settings section. In the Settings section, there's an Activity Trail tab, which allows you to select a specific on-demand service, specify a date range, and download a compressed zip file of logs for that date range. The Agents tab is for group management, which allows you to install an on-premise agent with an installation key to help you manage groups in your on-premises environment. The Notifications tab allows you to set up email alerts for any desired notification type for on-demand services. And the Subscriptions tab has licensing information containing all the information you need to know about your on-demand subscriptions. Next, in the Access Control section, OnDemand has full role-based administration, where you can create custom roles or even use a few predefined ones and add users to them. This is especially useful if you have tiered administration and management of the on-demand services like Junior Help Desk, and administrators. After you've created or chosen a predefined role, you can add a user to it simply by entering their email and selecting which role you want to add them to. Next, you'll want to know where to get the latest updates on the various releases that occur for on-demand services. You'd go to the Release Notes section. And depending on what product you have selected in the left navbar of OnDemand, it'll bring up the Release Notes section for that specific service within OnDemand. And what if you wanted to learn how to do something within the product or needed more information on a process? You would simply click the Help section, which brings the all-encompassing user guide. And it also works the same way in the Release Notes in that it'll bring up the section relevant to the product you have selected within OnDemand. So what if you can't find your answer in the user guide? Well, you can simply select Support and Knowledge Base. And here you can find knowledge base articles that have a lot of information for specific problems people have had in the past. You can select Choose Different Product and select On-Demand Migration, for example, from the alphabetical list, and it'll bring up all on-demand migration related articles for you to search through. But what if you've utilized the user guide and knowledge base and still don't have an answer to a question or have a specific error that doesn't seem to be documented? You can then create a support ticket by clicking the Support tab and Contact Support and selecting the relevant type of support that you need. Here you would select your product and make sure that the right support ID is tied to the account that you're logged in as. This is important. When you click Next, you'll see a variety of fields like severity and a description of the problem. It's important to provide any specific information to the problem here, as well as add any attachments that might be relevant, like a screenshot of an error or warning, or even audit logs from the Settings section, like we covered a moment ago. Now that we've covered everything from your welcome email to signing up, to creating an organization, adding a tenant, granting permissions, viewing the settings, and getting help, you can consider yourself onboarded for the general use of OnDemand. Please also take note that there are other onboarding videos for specific services within OnDemand as well. Thank you for watching.